Hey guys, what's happening? It's OG Games here. Guys, today we're going to be doing a video on the new Teamfight Tactics 9.16 update, and I'm going to be making this into a mini series, just covering just small parts at a time, but really going in depth with each particular change and update. So this video may be particularly long, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to label some timestamps either in the comments or the description of this video, just specifying when I'm talking about the new champs, what to build, what items to build on them, and the new hextec mechanic. So if you guys want to have a look at that one and click to the specific ones, you're more than welcome. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of this video. Today we're actually going to be looking at the new champions and the new mechanic that's been introduced into the game, along with how to sort of situate those new champs into compositions, also what kind of items to build on these particular champs. Lastly, we're going to be talking about the new mechanic they've implemented, how you can use it, when you should use it, and just an overall review of it. So the 4 new champions they have introduced into this update are Camille, Jace, Vi, and Jinx. Now, this is pretty exciting because for one, you can go full Blade Masters. You've got another Shapeshifter, that's not too important. Vi, another Brawler. You can maybe swap her out if you think her mechanics are appropriate. And Jinx, of course, Gunslinger. So now we can have full Gunslingers. Also, another thing to note about all these new 4 champions is that they are actually all have the new mechanic, which is called hextec. Now I'll explain that a little bit later in the video. So starting off with the 1 cost Blade Master Camille, as you can see, her damage isn't anything special, but she's also a hextech, as well as her ultimate roots an enemy and forces her in-range teammates to target whomever she's fighting. I've noticed that this kind of works half the time. I think the radius of which it affects your fellow ranged teammates isn't too huge, so that might be a little bit of an issue there. In terms of putting items on Camille, I'd probably recommend similar to somebody like Aatrox or something like that, except a tiny bit different. So maybe say a Bloodthirster. If you're really going for Blade Masters, you want that, you're going to get that extra attack speed, or extra attacks I should say, so you're going to get a little bit of life steal with her. Dragon's Claw is really good as well, and even a Phantom Dancer actually, because she's really going to be at your front line, and having that Phantom Dancer is going to allow her to stay alive a lot longer and ult essentially, and be able to pick off people a lot faster. But generally speaking, I probably wouldn't stack your main items on her. I'd probably put it on somebody a lot better, depending on who you have. So moving on to Jace, the 2 cost Shapeshifter hextech. He actually does not too bad base damage. It scales reasonably well. His ability is to knock back the enemy he's currently targeting, and then he switches to his Mercury Cannon, which gives him a burst of 3 attacks at level 1, 5 at level 2, and 7 at level 3. So you're going to be having him not directly at the front line, but you're going to be having him a little bit to the side, just so he can help out the tanks that you're going to have. Initially, you're going to be knocking back and just trying to do as much damage as you can, as fast as you can. Now, the interesting thing is, with the items you want to pick on him, I would probably just go straight 3 static shivs if you really wanted to deal a lot of damage with him. Especially going level 2 Jace, he will power spike quite early. He will get his ult off quite quickly, as he is a low mana cost champion. So those static shivs will really help ricochet that damage straight back to the enemy line if they're doing something like ranges or any other DPS at the back of the enemy line, or even for mages as well. So that's probably what I'd build on him. And the only real synergies that he goes with is the Shapeshifter combos. You can work in with like Gnar and Shyvana. I reckon he'd be really good with. They're just great all-round champions as they are. And you could probably work Swain in there and kind of switch out maybe add a different kind of synergy to go with that one as well. So next up we have Vi, which is the Hextech Brawler 3 cost gold champion. She does a reasonable amount of damage with her ability, which targets the furthest away enemy and charges towards them, and it also knocks up any enemy champions that are in her way. So that's kind of nice. It kind of reminds me of like a Blitzcrank kind of mechanic. So just a nice solid brawler to add there. In terms of items, I would definitely just go double Warmogs and maybe even a frozen heart. That might be good. Just because you want to keep her alive as much as possible. She's really going to be like the brute force of your team, but she's also going to stop or delay those that enemy backline from doing extra damage to the rest of your team comp. But yeah, all in all, she's a great brawler. I'll definitely consider putting her in compositions, but yeah, it's remained to be seen how that's going to work specifically. Okay, so now moving on to Jinx, the Hextech Gunslinger. She is a 4 cost gold, but she tends to be a high damage output, which is kind of nice. So as you can see here, her rocket damage, which does 100, 225, and 350, leveling respectively. Her ability is she gets excited after her first takedown, which gives her bonus attack speed. And then if she gets a second takedown on an enemy champion, she pulls out her rocket launcher, also known as fish bones. And that also allows her to deal AoE damage, which is quite strong. I've actually tried it out in a full gunslingers slash blade master slash pirate build, and it's actually really good. Yeah, solid champion here. I think she's going to be the Draven for gunslingers. I definitely recommend you guys give her a try. In terms of items, I would definitely try and do a rapid fire cannon, bloodthirster, and actually also a Renan's Hurricane. There is another build as well where you can do double Renan's Hurricane, which is really strong, plus Hush as well, especially if you're going to have other gunslingers like Tristana with the item called Cursed Blade. If you're going to be running that as well, that is super helpful for disarming the enemy characters, disabling them from their full potential. But yeah, so let me know how you guys go with these particular champions, putting them in specific comps, and using the item builds that I've given you so far. Let me know if they're any good for you guys, whether there's something you change or recommend. So just let me know in the comments below, and we can work something out together. Be sick. Okay, so moving on to Hextech, the new mechanic they've added in for the 4 new champions. And this trait, what it does is when you have 2 of the Hextechs, then you get the trait to throw a bomb at an enemy unit with an item, and it disables all item within a certain radius. Now they've called this radius a hex radius. So you only get half the hex radius when you get the 2 Hextechs, but when you get 4, you get a whole hex radius. Just to alleviate any confusion with that one. So that is quite a strong item, especially mid to late game when people start relying on items. It's really going to allow you to burst down some of those champions that are really juiced up with items during those first 8 seconds that the Hextech trait is active. So there has been some confusion around the Hextech mechanic possibly disabling spatula traits. Riot recently just posted this on their Twitter saying if you have 6 sorcerer comp with a Yuumi is disabled. That champ loses 40 AP, but you still get the 6 sorcerers, if that makes sense. If you need any clarity about that, just leave me a comment below and I'll try and help you through that. But that makes a lot of sense to me, and I think it's really good that it doesn't remove item traits specifically. And now where I see Hextech fitting in is I can't see all four of them being used, to be honest, because they're not all super strong characters. I do, however, see hextech being thrown in as in a filler for a composition that you're going. I think that'll be in the really strong metas, really up there in the top S level compositions. And overall, I think hextech actually is quite a fun mechanic they've added in. It might be a little bit too strong. I think they can reduce the timer down from 8 seconds. I think it's a bit too much, but yeah, I definitely think this is a really good addition to the game. Makes it a little bit more complex, and you can sort of work around different compositions with it as well. So overall, right? Good job.
Oh, good job. Good job. Really good job.
Oh my god, what? The glitch.